The Secrets of Star Trek is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Star Trek, episode 83.
Captain to bridge.
Spock here.
Make it so. Surrender is not an option.
Attention crew of the Enterprise, this is James Kirk.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon, what's beyond our own shores.
We would have helped you get home if you had asked. That's who Starfleet is.
Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Star Trek, where we discuss the hidden layers and deeper meanings found in all the Star Trek TV series, movies, and more. And today we're discussing the Voyager episode, Ex Post Facto. Joining me today on the panel are Jimmy Aiken. Hi, Jimmy.
Howdy, Dom.
And Father Corey Stika. Hi, Father Corey.
How's it going?
Very well, thank you. Folks, if you have not yet done so, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or on YouTube, where our YouTube channel, at the SQPN YouTube channel, where you should hit the bell to get notifications of new episodes. So this is another first season Voyager episode. In another one, that's the second one, that has a Latin title, Ex Post Facto. What is Ex Post Facto?
From after the fact.
It's a legal term, meaning you can't be.
What it means in real law, you're here in America, you're not allowed to pass ex post facto laws, so you're not allowed to criminalize something after it's been done.
Okay,
so if
right.
someone does something, you then can't pass a law against it and prosecute them for it. You can pass a law criminalizing something, but you can only prosecute violations of that law going forward, not retroactively.
Right. In Cardassian law, you could be convicted and found guilty of the law, even if you don't know it's been passed. So here we have a typical TV trope: the character who's wrongfully convicted of a crime, although it seems like an airtight case at trial. Okay, this is a long-standing tradition throughout all of TV.
And this is basically sci-fi film noir. That's the aesthetic they're going for.
Consciously so. And I mean, the producers, the writers talk about that they wanted to make this a Raymond Chandler-esque. In fact, at one point, they thought about doing it all in black and white, which, I don't know, it's really gimmicky.
God for Star Trek.
Yeah, it's
so eventually
gimmicky.
They do have an episode that has some black and white in it in the holodeck.
Bride of Chaotica.
Yep.
Yes, yeah. We'll get to see that later on. I have thoughts about that when we talk about that episode. But what we have here is Tom Paris has been convicted of murder on this planet that he visited, and they have, as punishment, they've replaced capital punishment with this technology that makes you relive the crime through the eyes of your victim every 14 hours for the rest of your life.
And that's part of how he was convicted. They can tap the memories of dead people, apparently. And so they have this video from the dead man's memory of Tom killing him from this first-person perspective. So you see Tom coming towards the camera, and then he stabs the cameraman, and then the cameraman falls over. And so that's the crushing, conclusive evidence against him.
Right. Tom was caught in flagrante delicto with another man's wife, which we find as an audience, we find it believable because Tom is, a cad, shall we say, at this point in his development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also, this is interesting. So this episode was not as bad as I remembered. I remember not liking it, but actually this time through, it's like, this is okay. I mean, it's not great, but it's pleasant. I like them doing a film noir riff. I like that kind of genre bending. I also like the fact it didn't have a resolution that involves talking dramatically over consoles. and even though we're dealing with an alien criminal justice system, we don't have preaching about alien criminal justice systems and how Federation morality triumphs over some alien Star Chamber horror thing.
Yeah, there almost seems to be an appreciation on the part of the Federation for this act or this punishment.
The punishment, yeah.
Even if it, there's the concerns obviously about Tom Paris's mental health because of it,
right.
but they still, it's almost like they appreciate it because the other option was lethal injection, and of course that the Federation can't authorize that.
Yeah, and so this is really more a straightforward mystery.
Yeah,
doesn't have the preaching, it doesn't have the technobabble over consoles at the end. It's just a straightforward mystery. And I like that. It is similar to other episodes we've seen. There is the TNG episode, A Matter of Perspective, where we have Riker does Rashomon, where he also is thought to be womanizing another man's wife who then ends up dead.
Right.
There is the DS9 episode, Hard Time, where O'Brien is made to suffer some phenomenally long amount of punishment mentally rather than physically. And there's the TNG episode, The Drumhead, where you have information being smuggled in someone biologically, and here we have information being smuggled in someone in the memories that Tom Paris is reliving.
I like the fact that they leave that clue in plain sight, but unintelligible to us, and then reveal it at the end. I thought that was actually kind of a clever idea. Was leave the final conclusive evidence in plain sight of the audience.
Well, and they do it in such a way so that we make the same assumption that Tom Paris did, was that this item was just a part of the whole process, that it was expected you would see those symbols at the bottom of the screen, of the bottom of his vision, and that's a part of the
memories,
part of the whole thing.
And he never asks about it. He like it because he assumes it's there for a reason, so he never asks anyone about these symbols that he sees, which is, again, very interesting.
Yeah. Also, we have a reference to Sherlock Holmes that's implicit here.
Yep.
When the scientist who's embedded the information in the memories is revealed at the end, it's revealed because a dog knows him and doesn't bark. And that's the dog that didn't bark is the revealing clue in the Sherlock Holmes story, Silver Blaze, which is about the theft of a horse and the death of its owner. And it's eventually revealed that it was the owner himself that took the horse out because the dog knew his owner and didn't bark during the night as a result.
Right. Which gives us the phrase, the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime, which then led to a play of the same property,
a phrase?
Of the same name.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've seen that used literarily, in other places.
I'm more familiar with the dog that didn't bark.
That's what I was thinking too, yeah.
There's a novel called The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, and then a play of the same name at a later point. There's also, of course, the Agatha Christie references where Tuvok gathers everyone. I know we're kind of jumping to the end, but Tuvok gathers everyone to reveal the murderer.
You get the stereotypical scene where all the suspects are there
at the scene of the crime.
Yep.
So let's go back to the beginning. There is a B plot in this, not much of one, but there's a B plot concerning the Doctor and Kes, where the Doctor's still trying to, there's this discussion of the Doctor getting a name. They were really big on this early on in the series, and then dropped it, which I think is just as well.
Thing.
I prefer not the Doctor not having a name than have some quest for a name that he then gets.
Right. But there's this discussion about how he's just a program. How could I choose something for myself? And Kes points out, well, you choose things all the time. you as a doctor. And so he starts going through. I like this part was he starts going through a list of names. He's like Dr. Galen, Dr. Salk, Dr. Kes interrupts him. Those are good. Spock. So he says Dr. Spock, but
meaning the pediatric guy. Yeah.
That which is I think is a funny head nod to all the fans who get so angry at all the non-fans who refer to Mr. Spock as Dr. Spock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
All the time. So I thought that was like a funny little reference there.
But come on, surely Spock, son of Surak, has a doctorate. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Vulcan Science Academy.
But one thing that they kind of do, though, is they hint at the idea of, that the human mind is nothing more than a biological computer. And that's kind of what Kes hints at, that, well, all I'm doing when I make a decision is the memories that I have, the knowledge that I have, and it's kind of hinting at that idea, that false idea that computers and the human brain work the same way, which, of course, they don't.
Right. In fact, we don't really know how the human brain really works, how consciousness works.
But we do know that it isn't a straightforward analog for a computer. I mean, we don't process information the way computers do.
No, we don't.
Right, which raises an interesting discussion that we won't have here about AI and the possibilities of artificial consciousness. But instead, we will talk about the plot where Harry Kim returns to Voyager on this shuttle without Paris, injured, and the shuttle's damaged. And we're kind of told that there's this planet, the Benia, where they have advanced technology that Voyager needs to repair the ship stuff. They have a Maltese Falcon that Voyager needs. They have and so they a MacGuffin. So the Voyager can't go there because there's a war between this race called the Numiri and the Benians, and the Voyager would be attacked if they tried to go there. So they sent a shuttle because the shuttle is small and disposable. I don't know.
Voyager would be attacked maybe if they went there.
Right.
But they send the shuttle on the idea that it's a less threatening thing and it may be able to get through their patrols easier than a big, huge honking ship.
And of course, Tom Paris is the ultimate super pilot and can avoid everything. So
right. He can do the Kessel Run in
less than 12 light years. Yeah,
parsecs. It's a measure of space time. So we have this extended sequence of Harry Kim having a flashback, meeting the murder victim Tolan Ren, who's a physicist on Benia. The Benians all have feathers instead of or in addition to hair, because some of them have both.
Yeah.
And he's called Ren. Get it? Tolan Ren, feathers. He's a bird. Anyway.
Oh, well, I thought he was related to Kylo.
Yeah,
exactly. He is one of the Knights of Kylo Ren. They're helping fix a part in Voyager because reasons, and then they get invited to dinner at Tolan Ren's home and meet his wife, who's clearly unhappy with her husband. Another stereotypical May-December marriage. She's much younger and unhappy.
And Tolan Ren seems like a really nice guy, and he's much more compassionate and warm than his cold, distant, bored wife.
Yes. Yeah. It's this is straight out of the 50s, these stories.
She's even smoking the big the cigarette in the big holder. I mean,
right. So they get served this meal, and so just after the meal is served, the wife gives her food to the dog and says, "Oh, well, the meat doesn't taste right." And then I'm like, okay, so I guess dinner's over, and I'm not eating any more of this.
Yeah.
You serve this?
Earlier, she offered them a drink, and they just and leaves them to get their own drinks. And it's like, dudes, you should be scanning that stuff. You have no idea if it's compatible with your biology.
Right. At one point, she before cooking, she throws a piece of the food to the dog to make sure he'll eat it. That's how they determine if food is gone or something on this planet.
It's like, don't try that with a terrestrial dog, okay?
Yeah.
They'll eat anything.
Yeah.
Well, of course, and this dog looks like a terrestrial
it's a Chihuahua.
dog just with a wild haircut. I mean,
it's
there's
a Chihuahua
no makeup on this dog whatsoever.
A Chihuahua that chewed on an electrical cord. So zap.
And it is a Chihuahua that they gave a funny haircut to.
Right.
Also, the city that we keep seeing cityscapes of on Bahia or whatever the name of the planet is the same exact city we see in Angel 1 and the Samaritan Snare from Deep Space Nine, from Next Gen, and also the episode Dax from Deep Space Nine. So it's like, guys, can you invest in an extra
another matte painting?
Matte painting?
Yeah.
The one of the things that was distracting to me is how the Benians are aliens, and we see a few alien aspects of them, but they act like their culture, so many aspects of their ethics, of their morality, of their marriage, are so human. It's too much like human beings. Even just this idea of monogamous marriage and a May-December romance, and it was a little distractingly too much like human life for me, a little at times. I had to really push to set that aside.
Well, and this is
not get
this is where you talk about where they're trying to make it look film noir. I think they basically just took a typical film noir story and put aliens in it.
Yeah, it's some alien elements.
And I'm fine with that.
Change nothing else, but...
Yeah. So Kim tells us that Dolan Wren died the next day, never saw Tom again, and then Kim was questioned for 2 days.
They have lightning fast trials on this planet, apparently.
Yeah.
Yes. So Janeway decides, okay, well, we got to go get Tom back. So they take Voyager to Benia, and they have to take the ship through the Numeri patrols, which she didn't want to do last time. Neelix has this big thing about, the Numeri, they're very, aggressive and dangerous, and they'll attack you just to show you that they can do so. And the Numeri's like, hey, where you going? All right, I'll see you later. And of course, that's part of the plot, but it seems very strange to them. The greeting is downright friendly.
That was kind of an interesting contrast, because this is a point where Neelix was acting very concerned, and Janeway's like, "What's with you?" She was almost kind of blowing off his concern, because that was very out of character for Neelix, going, "There's something not right here," and she's like, "Well, it seemed okay to me." Okay.
Well, the first time it happens, it's not as obvious. I mean, the Numeri guy they talk to on the phone is stern but reasonable. I mean, he's not buddy with them, but since once they make it clear they're not combatants, they're not here to help the people on the planet, they're just here to get some supplies and to deal with their crew member situation. He's like, okay, but watch yourself.
Right.
And so they're oddly reasonable.
Yeah.
So Tuvok, as security chief, is put in command of their investigation. He's the detective Sherlock Tuvok. Sherlock. And so he sees Paris, and I love his very blunt. So, did you do something with the wife? Like, what happened with the wife? Like, he's very blunt about it. Paris does admit that he was flirting with Tolan's wife, Liddell, which he has to admit it because nobody would believe him otherwise. His memory of their conversation is like something. Now, this is like something out of a bad film noir movie. Her eyes were 1,000,000 kilometers away, staring at stars I'd just flown by the day before.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a little heavy there. Yeah. Come on. I mean, that was like out of bad film noir.
Also, we have one of the few smoking scenes in Star Trek where Paris, in his flashback, comes into where she's sitting after she's left the dinner, and she's smoking a cigar, and he disses her smoking the cigar. He says, "Oh, my people gave it up because we realized it was killing us." And it's like, okay, one, how un-Starfleet of you to pass judgment casually on someone else's culture. Number two, you have no idea what the effects of this on her race are. I mean, presumably that is not tobacco, and her lungs don't work exactly like a human. What I wanted her to do is say, "Oh, I'm so glad your people discovered that. Here on my planet, we evolved to do this. This is a necessary form of inhalation therapy to cure fatal diseases."
Or something. Right. This is an entirely benign nutrient accession.
This is a medical procedure that I need to do at least once a day. Yeah.
Right. It's a completely innocuous plant or something. Yeah, exactly. So Paris relives the crime and then passes out, which is not an expected outcome. And why would that happen when you impose biological tech specific to your species onto an alien? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You'd kind of expect this to happen. So Janeway convinces them to let her beam up with Paris and Tuvok, and then they fly away from the planet because what are the Benians going to do? Oh, no, wait. No, we have to stick around and prove his innocence on an alien planet that no one from the Federation will ever visit again because reasons.
Because they still need the widget. They still need the widget for their ship.
I suppose.
And also principles, and also these people have advanced tech, and if you just run off, they might retaliate or send a message to their friends down the line that you may need to deal with. So hanging out and trying to prove his innocence for a while, it seems reasonable to me.
And not to mention honor Starfleet and all that.
You're on the other side of the galaxy. You're never coming back here, but
but eventually you're going to have contact, and you want Starfleet to have a good rep. I mean, what do you think you are, the Equinox?
Exactly. I was just thinking the same thing.
They're still 70,000 light years away. Starfleet's not coming back this way for several centuries. I think they'll forget about it, hopefully, but maybe they won't. All right. So they determine that the punishment is probably causing permanent brain damage, and that this is not the intended, like it's not supposed to be this kind of harmful, physically harmful.
And here the Beneans are surprisingly reasonable. They're open to the idea. They say we'll need to check it out with our courts, but we're open to the idea of taking the implants out of him that are making him relive the memories. But he may get an alternative sentence you don't like any better.
Right. Is that hinting at death penalty?
Yes, because they're before they had this technology, Tuvok tells us it was lethal injection.
Yep. Okay. So then we fly away if they're going to kill Tom, right?
They haven't. I don't know. We never in Star Trek. We never have to answer that question.
Exactly.
So Tuvok wants to use the futuristic lie detector on Paris, and then he goes to question Liddell. The dog growls, and she says he doesn't like strangers. A clue.
Mm.
And then she says that she told her husband that she wanted to leave him because she was attracted to Tom, even though she knew Tom for a day and he was leaving tomorrow. But
there's a neat bit in one of the flashbacks where he and Tom and Liddell have gotten like caught in the rain, and she's being all romantic with him, and he's kind of resisting, and he says, our timing is off. And she says, you'll be gone in a few days. This is the only time we've got. And it's such a film noir line.
Yep. Right. Well, she's not acting much like a woman who just left her husband in that scene either, but I suppose. Tom says, that all happened just as she remembers it, right up to when he went to drink the tea with her. And then he has no memory after that, which, a clue.
Yeah, he admitted drinking the tea, then he says he fell asleep and woke up in the cell, and the lie detector says he's telling the truth.
So then there's a sudden, unprovoked attack on Voyager by the Numiri, and Chakotay has a Maquis trick to get them out of the attack, to save them, which seemed a bit not much of a trick at all. But,
basically they look like they're wounded, and then when they get too close, disable them.
Or you could have just let them get too close and disable them. If just shooting them works, then just shoot them.
Even Janeway hangs a lantern on how lame this trick is and says it's like one of the oldest tricks in the book. And then Chakotay has this stupid line about, well, in the Delta Quadrant, every old trick is new again. It's like, oh, so you know that the people in the Delta Quadrant have never had the kind of conflicts that we had in the Alpha Quadrant that drove them to develop such tricks.
Yeah.
the wounded animal trick, right.
Or they then figure out those tricks on their own.
Right. So Tuvok decides he needs to do mind meld with Paris so he can see the crime for himself. This is a key plot point.
Why can't they just read it off the hard drives of the that Tom has in his head now? Because they've implanted Tom with devices apparently that cause this, or they have it on technology down on the planet. It's like as part of our discovery phase of this investigation, I like to subpoena those files.
Right, or just give us access to see it for ourselves or something.
Yeah.
Right.
But of course, if they watched the files that were on storage on Bonilla, they wouldn't see the writing at the bottom that reveals that this is all a
spy.
Using Tom as a thumb drive spy trick.
Mm-hmm.
So Tuvok says that Professor Wren's research will explain not only why Paris was accused of a crime he didn't commit, but why the Numiri attacked the Voyager. Bum. So of course, he doesn't tell us. He has to wait for the big reveal. Janeway sets up the trap by telling the Beneans that she's sending Tom Paris back by shuttlecraft in exactly 1 hour. No more, no less. The Numiri show up and attack the shuttle, tractor it on board, and as soon as they identify Tom Paris, this is the one we're looking for, Voyager beams them out. This is a huge risk that Tom and Harry are taking here.
Yep.
They could have been blasted out into space if they were wrong. They could have been not able to beam them back. There's all kinds of ways. They could have just shot Harry and said, we don't need this guy, so let's just take this one. So it was a huge risk. But Janeway then says to get the shuttle back from the Numiri, she claims that there's 40 tons of explosive on it. 40 tons.
Yeah.
It must be really dense explosive. And
yes.
Actually, you can make an atom bomb for, 20 pounds, 50 pounds.
Right. It's like that. It's typical Voyager overdoing it. Like, just say that we have 20 pounds of this incredibly explosive device. Like, are you carrying around 40 tons of this explosive on Voyager?
This thing is run. This shuttle has engines that are run by antimatter. You know how to make an antimatter bomb, right? You get antimatter in a magnetic bottle. Step 2, turn off the magnetic bottle.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it seems unnecessarily, like, large number.
Yeah, I mean, literally all they would have had to have said was, our shuttle has a self-destruct device. If it is activated, your ship will be destroyed. If you do not release our shuttle, we will activate it. Done.
Return our shuttle or we'll blow you up with the shuttle self-destruct device. Done. So, yeah, it's typical Voyager because, frankly, I'm not sure why she wanted the shuttle back. They can apparently make them in the shuttle bay, a dozen at a time.
We have a limited number of shuttlecraft now that we're here in the Delta Quadrant. We have to use them wisely.
That's right. And torpedoes, too.
And torpedoes.
350 of each. So Tuvok gathers them all, Agatha Christie style, Hercule Poirot, in the at the scene of the crime in the living room of Tolan Wren's house, and he points out that in Paris's memory, as recorded by the Benian court system, he was shorter than he really is. He has her stand next to Liddell. He's taller. In the memory, he's shorter. How can that be?
They say that, but the actors actually look indistinguishably the same height to me.
Really? No, Liddell was like a head shorter.
Well, no, when you take into account the hair that they're wearing, I mean, one of them looks shorter if you judge by hairline, but if you look at the height of the hair, the guy playing the scientist looks to me to be as tall as Tom Paris. I mean,
really? No.
That was my impression anyway. And obviously I was looking for, is he really shorter? And it's like, I don't think not. I mean, maybe a little, but not much.
Okay.
If you go onto the Memory Alpha site, they've got the pictures of the three of them.
Mm-hmm.
The image from the image from the actual footage, recording that Tom sees, and then Tom standing next to her, and then the doctor, the scientist next to her, and you can see that Jimmy. There's a like the top of her hair is about eye level for Tom Paris.
She's half a head. Yeah, I mean, I could see where it is. It is pretty close, though. You're right. It is fairly close in height. It's not a dramatic difference, but
no.
I suppose for the Vulcan, it's a big deal. But he says the killer also knew exactly where to stab Tolan Wren to hit him in the Benian heart.
Which is not where our heart is.
Right. Yes, it's somewhere around the liver, I think, or the kidney.
Yeah.
So that's actually significant because Tom is said to have killed in the heat of passion, not having studied Benian physiology ahead of time, apparently. And then the big reveal is the alien writing we keep seeing on Tom's memory of the event was not part of the punishment procedure, but were Wren's equations for something, for whatever research he was doing that is significant to the defense technology, apparently.
Yep.
And these were an elaborate attempt to deliver them to the Numiri, a very overly elaborate attempt based on a chance arrival of some aliens to the planet.
Yeah. Now, what Captain Janeway should have said after this is all revealed and after we're all buddies again is, your intelligence service might be interested in a technique we have on Earth called steganography. It's way more subtle than that if you want to hide information in images. And maybe we can arrange a cultural exchange.
Yeah.
Right. Exchange spy technology. And then we have the whole thing with the dog. The dog doesn't bark at the Benian doctor, who. As I look at this, though, I'm thinking this is going to completely upend the Benian justice system because if these memories can be tampered with, then they're no longer admissible as evidence in court, right?
Well, you would think that, except we have exactly this problem on Earth. You have labs that tamper with evidence and get, I mean, it happens here too. And that doesn't mean that we say, okay, just because fingerprints or DNA aren't 100% reliable, we chuck them out.
Yeah, I guess what you'd have to do is come up with a way of detecting tampering. That's probably the thing is that how can you tell when a memory, because this is an entirely falsified memory, like, that Tom is completely replaced in this memory file, or the doctor is replaced in this memory file with Tom. So you'd have to figure out some way to detect that.
The problem is, I mean, apparently it's the guys who were involved in the memory extraction that tampered with it, or at least the memory reimplantation. So it's the memory guys you got to watch. It's like watching the lab techs at an FBI lab to make sure they're not messing with the evidence. They're handling it properly.
Right. So,
I mean, if they want, if let's say they're running a DNA test on you, they can smear your DNA on the glove and say, "Oh, and we found his DNA on the glove." Yep. So that's the critical failure point you have to watch to prevent this kind of thing.
Right. So then we have the dog reveals, because it's friendly to the doctor, the doctor then admits that he's guilty, which is very convenient for the criminal to admit their guilt when they're caught. And then we have a scene of Tom encountering Tuvok in the mess hall, basically saying, you got a friend in me, no matter whether you think I am or not, and I owe you one. And we kind of settle things out. That's how it ends. One of the things I want to point out is Jerry Taylor, who is on the production team. She was one of the producers.
Not the same as Jerry Ryan, who is 7 of 9.
Right. Jerry Taylor. She thought she didn't like this episode because she thought it marred the character of Tom Paris into this womanizing cad that they originally had planned him to be, and then changed, at the beginning of his time. But she feels like this episode kind of carried that too much, like this idea of this guy who would interfere in someone else's marriage and take up with someone else's wife, and she didn't like that way of dealing with Tom.
Well, from what I read, she didn't like that it was the only thing they were doing with Tom at this point. He was becoming one note.
Right.
And he does resist. I mean, he is tempted and flirting with her, but they never actually, get together. And he does resist her when she's coming on to him.
Right.
But they'd already kind of shown him as kind of like you said, a cad, like the holographic pool hall that he goes to. He's always got a woman on an arm and stuff like that.
And trying to get Harry to hook up with the Delaney sisters with him and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I'm glad that at least anyway, that they got away from that one note on Tom Paris.
Hook up in the 50-year-old sense of the term, not necessarily the teenage sense of the term these days.
Sorry. Yes, I'm an old person. I use the term differently. Yeah. Thank you for that. So and then the other thing I want to point out is just like I kind of like seeing Tuvok, meanwhile, getting to be the problem-solving detective who uses his prodigious volcanologic skills to solve crimes. I thought that was kind of fun.
Although he's obviously the ultimate introvert because he prefers to sit and read a book while he's eating than actually talk to people.
Oh, he is one of my people. Yeah. So any last thoughts on this episode for either of you?
Nothing here
on this.
Not for me. Pretty straightforward.
Okay. So we close the book on the film noir episode, and we'll...
Is that a deliberately mixed metaphor?
It is, yes.
Oh.
I'm mixing up some metaphors here today. Putting in a martini glass. We'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Star Trek, including, this time, Jack B., Patricia V., Michael A., Eric M., and Mario L. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Star Trek and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And we'd also like to thank Victor Lambs, who edits the show every week. So that's it from us. What do you think of this Voyager episode ex post facto? Let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/trek or our Facebook page at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or send an email to trek@sqpn.com. We'll be back next time when we'll have a special episode. We're going to be discussing the short treks from Season 2 of the short treks from CBS All Access. We've been talking about these as they've come out and making those available, those discussions available to our patrons right away. But we're going to bundle all those up and give those to you after the last of those short treks is out, and as a final episode, a gathering up of those for you If you'd like to get access to special episodes of Secrets of Star Trek and our other shows that we make available, I would check out becoming a patron.
Go to sqpn.com/give and become a patron, and you get access to extra cool stuff.
So until next time, Father Corey Stika, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of Star Trek.
Thank you, Dom.
Jimmy Aiken, thank you as well.
Thanks, Dom, and live long and prosper.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Star Trek on StarQuest, and remember, there are some who'd say you risked my future on the eyewitness identification of a dog.